From NBC News, a record number of Americans are anxious about healthcare costs going into next year. Americans are going into 2026 about more anxious about healthcare costs than at any other point in recent years. A new West Health Gallup survey finds almost half of adults, 47%, say they're worried they won't be able to afford healthcare next year, the highest level since West Health and Gallup began tracking in 2021. Concerns about prescription drug costs have climbed steadily. The survey found rising from 30% in 2021 to 37% in 2025. Also, the highest level recorded in the share of adults who say healthcare costs cause a lot of stress in their daily lives has nearly doubled since 2022, rising from 8% to 15%. The survey also found that 1 in 3 adults reported delaying or skipping medical care over the last year because they couldn't afford it. Guess what, guys? Even when I was working as a nuclear security guard, I didn't buy into healthcare. It's a fucking scam. It's a fucking scam. On average, you will spend the exact same amount of money purchasing insurance as if you at one point in your time you need a medical service for something. You will end up spending the same amount of money, right? The problem in this country is we are too unhealthy. We are not fit enough. We experience a disproportionate amount of medical issues that normal people don't actually fucking experience, and that's because we're very unhealthy. If you are concerned of not being able to afford healthcare costs, one, you need to start working out and you need to stop eating like shit. Two, if you're concerned about healthcare costs, then you must be forced to admit that Obamacare hasn't solved anything. Because when you socialize medical care in this country with Obamacare, most people in the United States did not have any problems with medical coverage or with having to pay for medical insurance. They were not stressed about it, right? It was baked in, it was already baked into their costs, and it didn't cost nearly as much as it does now. But after Obamacare, everybody has just had increasing levels of anxiety about healthcare costs and healthcare insurance and their feelings towards healthcare and stuff like that since Obamacare. This is the problem with polls, especially from biased fucking sources. They're not giving you the truth. How about you bust out the polls of individuals from back in the day about healthcare? They had no problems. Why didn't they have problems? Because guess what? Healthcare didn't cost that much money because the economy wasn't as inflated as much of it as it is now. And it wasn't inflated as much now as it was then because the government wasn't operating at a deficit so they can pay for all these social welfare programs that they can't even afford. So then they inflate the economy, which causes the value of the dollar to go down, which means people have to charge more for both products and services. And then that cost becomes exponential, right? Because if you have to pay all the people in your company to make a medicine, it's not just that all of the materials that go into making the medicine cost more. Now all of the labor for it costs more. And why does all the labor keep costing more? Because of socialist fucking policies that are one inflating the economy. And look, economies inflate naturally, and there's a natural rate for economic inflation, and it usually is correlative to population growth, right? But we're inflating at a point where we can't fucking afford it, and it's outpacing everything. The interest on our national debt is over that of which we spend on fucking defense. Okay? The interest on, like, the money we spend on Medicaid and Medicare and Social Security is higher than what we spend on defense. And I'm not talking about combined, I'm talking about individually. And it's fucking, it's more expensive than the interest we pay on the fucking debt. Okay, so you're inflating the fuck out of the economy, and because you're inflating out the fuck out of the economy to pay for social welfare programs that you can't afford, you have to keep inflating the fuck out of the economy to pay for it. Because just remember, a majority of you, sorry, I need some water. A majority of you are getting tax returns every single year after you file your taxes. So how the fuck is anyone getting a tax return in this country if our government is operating at a $2 trillion deficit? Right? And the easiest way to explain this shit to people who aren't familiar with it, right, is because I didn't understand the distinction between the deficit and the debt when I was a kid or when I was younger, right? Deficit is our government buying shit on credit, right? It's them buying shit with the credit card. Whereas how much they can actually spend is them paying with debit. That's the money they have, and the deficit is the money they don't have. And running a deficit is what increases the debt. Because how much money the government can operate at, right, is what they will get from taxes in a year, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what they can operate at. Anytime they're running a deficit, that's what's increasing the debt. And then having so much debt is creating the interest payment, right? And interest is a fucking it's not a scam because currencies inflate over time. But this is why you end up paying more money with longer loan terms through interest, and interest rates are higher, right? It is because of inflation. So again, it's the social welfare fucking Ouroboros that's biting us in the ass. So if you're upset about medical coverage costs or medical costs period, then you should vote to get rid of the government fucking subsidizing social welfare. And yes, there's going to be a period of time where the market's going to have to readjust, but you just have to remember the problem becomes exponential. You pay an insurance company, right, money for X, Y, and Z insurance, right? And you pay them that money because they're the ones who handle a majority of the legwork in dealing with the finances for billing from services that you receive from an institution. So if you hate insurance companies, how about we implement a system where we directly negotiate with the providers? But the only thing is, you will then have to assume the workload of your medical responsibility, of filing your claim with them or negotiating your claim with them and then paying the claim and stuff like that. But Americans are fucking lazy, so they don't want to do this. So you're creating a middleman that just costs you more money in the long run to pay for shit that would be cheaper if it was just you and the people providing the fucking service. And then don't even get me started about the cost of services from the medical community, because they have to make a lot of fucking money in order to pay back their fucking student loans. Because the cost to receive a degree in some kind of medical fucking field is insanely high. So then people are taking out money that they don't have at fucking interest rates that they can't ever fucking like adjust to in order to pay for an education to get a job to earn a lot of money. So then they charge you more. So why aren't you upset about the school system not dropping their price for an education in the medical field? Because you can't argue, well, if they drop their price, then you're going to have more like negligent and uneducated doctors. No, you won't. How the fuck would dropping the price change what the score threshold would be? It wouldn't. If you're saying that dropping the price would cause people to there to be more people in a profession who are educated, then you're talking about how the school already isn't actually educating people. It's really that fucking simple. High standards. High standards create a high standard of living. High standard of living creates an effective and efficient fucking society. Really, really that fucking simple. But let me get back into it, right? Healthcare has become a central issue in politics. Senate Democrats push to extend enhanced subsidies for the Affordable Care Act, led to the longest government shutdown in history. The ACA tax credits, which have protected people from double-digit premium increases, are set to expire December 31st. Republicans blocked the effort, and the Trump administration has vowed to fix Obamacare, but is yet to release a detailed plan. That's because there is no fixing Obamacare, and there is no implementing a legitimate social welfare healthcare system in the United States. Because we don't believe in taking from people simply because they have more than us. Just like you shouldn't believe in taking from somebody just because they have less than you. Right? In America, we believe that road goes both ways. Socialists and communists don't. They believe it's perfectly acceptable to take from those who have more. So what they're effectively saying is, right, you have your doctors who provide your healthcare services, and they're making like $200,000 a year. But because they're making $200,000 a year, they have more than the people that they provide services for. So we're going to take more of their money so that we can fund healthcare, right? We're going to take money from doctors to pay for healthcare for the individuals that are receiving the services from the providers. So you create a perverse incentive structure, and then nobody wants to be a doctor. because they're not earning what they feel like they should be earning, and what they're earning is being taken through force from them to pay them. What the fuck? So they're just paying themselves and they're not actually earning any money. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what Obamacare does. This is what federal subsidies to healthcare does. Oh wow. They're preventing double-digit premium increases? No, they're not. Because the government is taking that fucking money from you to pay for that in the first place. So the government's just operating as a middleman, increasing the fucking costs on shit, right? And this is very, very basic level fucking me telling you, describing this situation to you, right? But it's like, you're just not paying for the double digit increase directly. You pay your copay, and then the government taxed you this amount of money so that then they can pay for the other side of your fucking copay. You're still paying for it, you dumb bitch. This is the problem with leftists. Why you guys make me so fucking angry is you're retarded. You literally think money grows on fucking trees. It doesn't. The government cannot just create wealth. It doesn't matter what society it is. It doesn't matter if you have a command economy. Wealth and creation is driven by people. And this is the best part. You guys understand that too, with your communist belief that, oh, the production is made by the worker. So you get upset about the company taking the production of the worker, and then you advocate for the government taking the production of the worker instead. The government has guns, the company doesn't. You can choose to not work for that company, and then they're not stealing your production, which they don't steal anyways because they fucking pay you for, and you enter into a contract with them of your own volition. You don't enter into a contract with the government of your own volition. It's forced on you. Communism and socialism are not liberal policies. They're not liberal economic forms, and they're not liberal fucking governmental forms. They are authoritarian, and they strip people of freedom. Anyways, that's all besides the point, right? But this is just my little rant about healthcare costs because people don't ever fucking understand this. Adult Gaming, welcome back, man. How you doing? Netherlands has one of the best free universal healthcare and free educations. Why can't the US do this? We can drop insurance finally if we had free healthcare and education because the way smaller country makes it happen because it's a way smaller country. The Netherlands doesn't have as diverse of a population or a world belief as America does. That's why. So because America is so much more diverse than basically anywhere on planet Earth, you have to have more freedom injected into our system in the United States to allow people to exercise their diversity, or our country is then no longer a diverse place. Are you waving or are you asking a question? Are you raising your hand or waving? Right? And this is the problem. Okay, you're saying Netherlands has one of the best free universal healthcare in education. Yes, because instead of allowing their people to choose what they want, the state mandates it, and the state takes the money from all of the people to pay for it. I'm good. How are you? Right? So you're saying they have something good, but do they really have something good? No, they don't. Why not? Because if you take the Netherlands system of universal education and universal healthcare and you try to implement that here in America, the system will break. Why? Because in the Netherlands, they're not as obese as Americans. They're not as overweight as Americans. Their food isn't as bad for you as Americans. Right? They have a smaller population. A majority of their population is ethnically Norwegian. Or no, you're talking about the Netherlands. So fuck, what are the Netherlands called? The people from the Netherlands? I can't fucking remember. Oh my god. Hold up, let me Google it. I can't remember. Are they Danes? Are called what? Look at that. It's the second question. Dutch. Oh, the Dutch. Okay, yeah, the Dutch. My bad. Okay. So you have the Dutch, right? They're predominantly ethnically Dutch, right? They believe in the Dutch culture. They believe in Norwegian culture. They believe in being Norwegian. A majority of them speak Dutch, etc., etc. They're not as diverse as the United States. Their system cannot work here. And if their culture was a lot like America, their system wouldn't work there either. Their system only works because everyone believes in that system, because they're all the same, predominantly the same. Obviously, people always have micro differences, right? Yes, there's going to be some fat Dutch people. There's going to be some obese Dutch people. But when a majority of their population, right, is extremely healthy, then they're okay with having a healthcare system that they have to pay money into because they don't feel like people are really going to be abusing it because they're healthy. But why should the 20% of America's population that are healthy, that don't eat McDonald's every day, that go for runs or lift weights or something like that, why should they be forced to pay into a system that will disproportionately fucking take care of obese and overweight people? Because healthy people don't have to incur as many healthcare costs as obese people. So you're effectively paying for a system of people that creates a perverse incentive to make that continue, that allows them to continue to be unhealthy. It's that simple. I guarantee you Americans would be willing to support a universal healthcare system if a majority of Americans were like how they were back in the 1920s or the 30s or the 40s, where they were like all fit, they were lean, they didn't eat in excess and shit like that. Bernie Sanders thinks it would work here in the USA, but remember that McDonald's in America is toxic versus the one in Netherlands, for example. Yes, but why is the one in America toxic and the one in the Netherlands not, right? There's a lot of variables that goes into that. Okay? So here in America, because we have so much religious diversity, fast food restaurants used to fry their food in beef tallow. But because of Hindu immigrants from India, we don't fry shit in beef tallow anymore because it goes against their religion. Why can't we fry things in pork fat, right? Or store things in lard? Oh, because of Muslim immigrants. Because then they can sue these corporations for discrimination. When when guess what? I'm all for allowing people to exercise diversity of religion, right? Like you can exercise your religion, that's fine. But that means then you don't eat at McDonald's. It's that fucking simple. If McDonald's wants to fry their shit in beef tallow, there shouldn't be a societal expectation that they have to change that because of someone in a different religion. The societal expectation should be those people don't fucking eat there. Just like if I want a steak, I don't go to a salad bar, right? Like no shit, that's common sense. But we don't have that here in the United States because we're all retarded. Um so we can start attacking these food companies for poisoning us so they can profit. But it's not just that. We're the ones who created the incentive structure for them to poison us because we sued them under the guise of diversity and freedom, right? And guess what? Guess what? You are right. The FDA shouldn't have even allowed such nonsense. Yes, but they can't because the federal government is required by the Constitution and because of the Civil Rights Act to uphold up to support the people in when it's deemed that civil liberties are being violated. But let me ask you, do you think that McDonald's is discriminating against someone because they fry their food in beef tallow? Do you think that a fast food place is discriminating against people? So say they serve is pork products, so Muslims can't eat there. Do you think they're discriminating against Muslims for doing that? Or do you think it's as simple as Muslims shouldn't eat there, right? No. Okay. So then you and I agree on that. And I would agree with the shit that you're saying if the rest of our society, right? I assume you're an American, right? But or actually you're probably Norwegian, right? That's why you brought up Norway. Or sorry, no, the Netherlands, my bad. You're probably Dutch, so that's why you brought up the Netherlands, right? But if I don't know, if our or my society was actually intelligent and they told people who did stuff like that in my country to fuck off whenever they did that, I would agree with you. But they don't because they're trying to abuse the system in every single way possible to manipulate it to their advantage. And also, another thing that you have to consider is why are products from the same company cheaper in a different country than another country? Or why are there differences in other countries? It's not just because they're operating different based on regulation. It's also because a lot of companies use the excess wealth of the West. They literally charge higher prices than what they need to in order to subsidize the rest of their company for operating in poorer areas, right? So like a price of something is going to be more expensive in the West because they're using the excess that they gain in that in order to subsidize their services in a poor country that otherwise couldn't afford it. Now, I think companies shouldn't be doing that. I think if a country can't afford to have you operate in their country, then you don't operate in their country. They don't need it. You said, but one sec, let me look at the chemicals in U.S. McDonald's. I'm from the U.S. but have friends in the Netherlands. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can look at the chemicals. I already know what you're talking about. Like, I mean, I understand that they have less bullshit in their food than us, but we have more bullshit in our food because one, Americans consume more. Two, all the different kind of lawsuits that all these people have all these companies have faced and can face if they don't do this, right? Because it's not economically feasible to request that McDonald's fries foods differently based on whatever the customer identifies as. What's more common sense and what's economically feasible is that if McDonald's fries its food in beef tallow, which is healthier for you than the shit that they fry it in now, right? Much healthier. And you can't eat cows, then you don't fucking eat at McDonald's. It's that simple. If you're a Muslim and you can't eat pork, you don't fucking eat pork. And you don't eat at places that serve pork. It's that fucking simple. It's really that simple. But we don't do that shit here in this country. We have too much litigation. We're too litigious of a society. Unfortunately. And it's over dumb shit. It's over dumb shit like that. Right? Like suing McDonald's because someone spilled their coffee on themselves and it's hot. Coffee is always served hot unless I order an iced coffee or a frozen coffee or some shit like that, right? But we literally allowed lawsuits like that to happen because people were hurt, right? And it's because of their own dumb actions. Now, like if they go to grab the McDonald's coffee cup and the bottom of the coffee cup falls out on the person, then it's not their fault, and I understand that lawsuit. But someone grabbed their coffee and then they dropped their own McDonald's coffee on them, and then a judge literally agreed with the victim that it was McDonald's fault. It's not like McDonald's poured the coffee on them, right? That's the problem in our fucking country. You can say the same and tell potential entrepreneurs that they can't open a restaurant if they use such toxic chemicals. You're absolutely right. But if they can't use any of these natural products because they can be sued, and they can't use any of these chemicals because they can be sued, then they can't provide a service or a product. So I agree with you. I think in this country, we should tell companies they cannot use these toxic chemicals at all, and they must return to natural products. But we need to, obviously, at this point, we need to create some legislation that gives them protections from being sued by people because they're upset that they're now using beef tallow instead of fucking, I don't know, some other weird synthetic shit. I agree with you. I don't disagree with that. But you can't take all of their options off the board and then go, yeah, you guys need to figure something out, right? We should just live in a common sense society where if you can't eat a product, you don't eat there. And we should not, through threat of lawsuit or through successful litigation of lawsuit, force companies to have to provide products to us because we want to feel special. The market will provide, baby. Like if there's a huge market, like why does everywhere serve chicken now? Everywhere fucking serves chicken sandwiches or chicken nuggets or like chicken something now because there's such a high demand for chicken, right? The market provides. People wanted chicken, so everybody started serving fucking chicken. Chicken's cheaper, it's leaner, it's healthier for you, right? That's why everywhere started serving fucking chicken. The market will provide. We just need to allow the market to fucking provide, right? If like for example, right? If Muslims have nowhere to eat, if they have nowhere to eat because everything is haram, all the food to them is haram, right? Someone is going to create a halal fucking food place for them to shop specifically, and then they reap all the benefits of that group of fucking individuals. There's no problem with that. It doesn't make it racist, right? It doesn't make it not racist, but it doesn't make it racist. But I agree with you. We should have laws, and that's what I like about RFK Jr. Right, and Maha, right, make America healthy again. And now I think that they're kind of being restrained a little, but it's like, as you can see now, right, they're removing artificial dyes. And all the companies in America have until 2026 to remove the end of 2026 to remove artificial dyes, right? I think that's a step in the right direction, and I want to continue seeing stuff like that. But we also must implement protections. I know, like, a lot of people on the left and a lot of people don't want to hear this, but we have to implement some kind of protection for these companies to actually be able to provide products to us that are healthy without them getting fucking sued. Right? Like, McDonald's should be able to provide us burgers that are fried in beef tallow without them getting sued. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about some blanket immunities that allow them to do whatever the fuck they want. Right? Um so there's a lot of issues that go into people feeling bad about healthcare costs. But again, right, the government is taking your money from you directly from your paycheck before you even see that money. Then they're taking more money from you through state and federal taxes that are applied to every single service that's provided to you, or every time you purchase a product. Sorry, they take those taxes, and then they also use those taxes to fund these other healthcare costs that people are talking about that you're worried about. So the argument should be, okay, well, we'll pay for those out of our own pocket, because that means that you have to pay for your own healthcare, which means you're responsible for yourself, which in any common sense society, you are responsible for your own self. And then other people who don't have to fucking go require so much healthcare and stuff like that, then they don't have to pay for that. Right. And then the government doesn't tax us for that fucking money. Solve the problem. Maybe not right away, because food businesses need to adapt to make changes. No, I completely agree with you on that. Um, or maybe phase out of this toxic food trend that are also addictive. Completely agree with you. Completely agree with you. And I think it would actually be better for our society to phase out of it instead of cold turkey it. If we cold turkey it, people are going to lose their fucking minds. People are going to fucking not be able to survive and shit like that. They do need to phase out of it. I completely agree with you on that. Um, and because we do need to give companies a period of time to adapt to the changes, right, that are being forced on them. Completely agree with that. Motherfuckers out here lying to me. Whoops.
With the beat of the drum and the fife so high, we march with courage under the sky. Banners wave and hearts on fire. In the name of freedom we aspire. Through valleys green